Gregor. While Gregor was wondering if he had enough nerve to walk into a jungle full of deadly plants, Hamnet organized the more mundane aspects of the trip. Light was the first order of business. Instead of the usual open flame torches, the Regalians had provided glass lanterns with handles. They were filled with pale, slightly sweet-smelling oil and wicks. Unless one of them broke on the ground, the fire inside would not damage the plants. Gregor's flashlight batteries died just as he was getting his lantern lit. Much to his surprise, he could still see. Not very well, not as if it were daylight, but well enough to make out the silhouettes of the individual vines around him. Although the campfire had been extinguished, his flashlight was off, and the lanterns were unlit. The entire jungle was visible. He set the lanterns down and went to investigate. What was the source of light? It seemed to emanate from the ground itself. It grew fainter higher up and then dissolved into blackness about 12 feet up into the air. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's recording. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Just making sure it's recording. He moved to a spot where the light seemed the strongest and found a narrow but deep stream. Along the bed, flashes of light came and went. He had seen some things like this before in the Crawler's Land. A stream with small volcanic eruptions on the bottom. But the bursts weren't as large or explosive as the ones before him. Gregor dipped his fingers into the stream and felt the warm water roll over them. There are hundreds of those streams crisscrossing the jungle, he heard Rip Red say behind him. Don't step in them, don't drink from them, and try not to use your fingers as bait. Gregor jerked his hand out of the water and as a set of spiky teeth snapped together in the space where his fingers had just occupied. What was that? He asked, stepping back from the stream. Something that thinks you're yummy, said Rip Red. Is that why we can't drink from them? It's too dangerous to get water? Asked Gregor. No, the water is tainted. You drink it and you die, said Rip Red. Gregor immediately went back to explaining to Temp how scary the stream was so that the cockroach would know to keep Boots clear of them. Stream bad, agreed Temp. But when Gregor told Boots to stay out of the water, she looked eagerly around and took off for the stream, squealing, Water! We go swimming! He chased after her and caught her by the arm. No swimming. Water bad, Boots. You don't touch water, he said sharply to the side that the sides of her mouth pointed down and her eyes started to fill with tears. Hey, it's okay. Don't cry, he hugged her. I just stay away from the water, okay? It's too hot, like the bath. This seemed to make sense to her. When the oil heater worked in their building, sometimes the scalding water came out of the tap. Ow, she said. Right, ow. He picked her up and carried her back to the others. You're going to ride Temp, said Gregor. Yes, said Boots, and she wiggled out of Gregor's arms and onto the cockroach's back. You don't touch water, Temp. That made Gregor feel a little better. Or plants, he added. Or plants, Boots told Temp severely. The humans had also left behind several packs of supplies. One contained first aid supplies and fuel for Gregor to carry. 3 large packs for food were designed for the rats to haul, and they had straps for the rodents, 4 legs, and belts that fastened around their underbellies. Nike was in charge of several heavy leather water bags. Gregor surveyed the dense, tangled vines doubtedly. How are you going to get along in there, Nike? She wouldn't be able to fly much, and travel on foot was very taxing for bats. Up higher. There are places where the foliage is not so heavy. I will fly above the vines when I must, and join the party when I can. Will you and your sister ride? Gregor didn't think that would be fair to ask her to carry him and Boots along with the water bags. Besides, Temp wouldn't want to be left on the ground without them. "We'll just walk," he said. He lit the lamp and prepared for travel. As a backup to the lamp, he hung a flashlight from his belt loop at his waist. The big pack with first aid supplies and oil went on his back. The smaller backpack that Meredith had filled with flashlights and stuff he wore on his chest. It also contained some items that Dulcet hadn't included for Boots: a change of clothes, a blanket, some toys, some cookies, a hairbrush. Gregor took the mirror from Nerissa had given to him and put it in his pocket. From his pocket and put it in the backpack too. He didn't even have a copy of the prophecy, but look, Boots liked to play with the mirror. She might need a distraction. He slung the wineskins full of shrimp and cream sauce around his neck. Initially, he had asked for the shrimp treat for Rip Red. He still intended to give it to the rat, but now he thought it might make a good bargaining tool. It would be nice to pull out the rat's favorite dish if he needed a favor in the jungle. Gregor thought he was done when he felt Temp nudging him. He turned to see the cockroach holding a sheathed sword in his mouth. Not this, said Temp. Where did that come from? Gregor had not even seen it until this moment. Sullivan must have left it for him. He clumsily buckled the wide leather belt around his hip and tried to slide the sword around to the most accessible position. Somehow he ended up with it right on his right hip, the tip angling forward. That seemed wrong. He finally wiggled it around to his left hip with the point behind him. Now he could grab the hilt and pull the blade out with his right hand easily. "Worked that out, have you, warrior?" Gregor looked up to find Hamnet watching him. He wasn't wearing a sword, just a short knife and a sheath on his leg. "I guess I'll find it out if I have to use it," said Gregor, hitching up the belt like he knew what he was doing. The sword banged awkwardly against his leg. "How old are you anyways?" asked Hamnet. Gregor thought of saying 13 or 14, and he was even tall and on the skinny side. If he were older, maybe Hamnet wouldn't treat him with more respect. Well, probably not. 11, said Gregor. 11, said Hamnet. His expression on his face changed. He looked almost sad. "I'll be 12 real soon," said Gregor, and that as if had some significance, but what did it mean, really? Only that he could think he was having to start paying full price at movies. And that wasn't very warrior-like, he thought. Why? "Well, I was thinking it didn't take long for my mother to get her claws into you," said Hamnet. I'm going to stop there, so these aren't that long. Okay.